Ohio, once the crown jewel of America's heartland, where factories roared, fortunes rose, and the middle class was born, now struggles to remember the sound of prosperity. How did a state that built America's cars, steel, and dreams fall so far, so fast? Today, we're peeling back the layers of decline, the industries that vanished overnight, the towns left behind, and the choices that changed everything. Some of what you'll hear might surprise you, or even make you angry. But by the end, you'll understand why Ohio's story isn't just about one state. It's about the fate of an entire nation. But before we start, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're pulling back the curtain, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Now let's dive in. Ohio was once the beating heart of American industry. Cars from Toledo, steel from Cleveland, rubber from Akron. But starting in the late 20th century, deindustrialization hit hard. Between 2000 and 2010 alone, Ohio lost over 370,000 manufacturing jobs, one of the steepest declines in the nation. Entire communities depended on those plants, and when they shut down or moved overseas, everything unraveled. Local diners closed, schools lost funding, and downtowns emptied out. In 1997, manufacturing made up nearly 25% of Ohio's economy. By 2016, it had dropped to just 16%. Automation and global competition only accelerated the decline, pushing stable, union-backed jobs into low-wage service roles. What used to be the state's backbone became a hollow shell of shuttered factories and rusting infrastructure, marking the beginning of Ohio's long economic slide from rich to struggling. Ohio's population story mirrors its economic one. Steady decline in the places that once drove its prosperity. Since 2000, over half of Ohio's 88 counties have lost residents. Young people, especially college graduates, have been leaving for better-paying jobs in states like Texas, North Carolina, and Florida. Cleveland, once a booming industrial city, has lost more than 60% of its population since 1950. As people move away, tax revenues shrink, schools close, and local services deteriorate. Aging populations remain behind, stretching healthcare and pension systems. Fewer working-age residents mean fewer small businesses, less innovation, and a harder time attracting new industries. Ohio isn't losing people because it's unlivable. It's losing them because opportunity feels limited. When you combine an aging demographic with brain drain, you get a slow erosion of vitality that makes it harder for communities to rebuild wealth and stability. Many of Ohio's cities, Cleveland, Dayton, Youngstown, were once gleaming examples of industrial might. But after decades of economic decline, urban decay set in. Vacant buildings, deteriorating roads, and aging water systems became symbols of neglect. In Cleveland alone, nearly 20% of homes sit vacant in some neighborhoods. Infrastructure investment hasn't kept pace. According to the American Society of Civil Engineers, Ohio scored a C on its 2021 infrastructure report card. That means outdated bridges, underfunded transit, and crumbling water lines that hurt both safety and business growth. When potential investors or new residents see broken roads and boarded-up downtowns, they don't see opportunity. They see decline. The cost to fix this backlog runs into tens of billions of dollars, yet funding shortfalls persist. Poor infrastructure doesn't just inconvenience people, it locks Ohio in a cycle of stagnation, making economic revival even harder. Ohio was once America's auto heartland, home to major General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler plants. But global shifts in manufacturing have gutted that dominance. The closure of GM's Lordstown plant in 2019 alone wiped out 1,500 direct jobs and thousands more in supporting industries. Automation and outsourcing to Mexico and the South further chipped away at Ohio's automotive workforce. In 2000, Ohio had over 250,000 auto manufacturing jobs. Today, that number hovers closer to 90,000. And while electric vehicle production offers some hope, those plants employ fewer workers and demand different skills. The fallout ripples beyond the factory floor. Small towns built around these plants lose tax revenue, schools suffer, and local economies collapse. Ohio's deep ties to an industry that changed faster than the state could adapt turned once thriving automotive hubs into ghost towns of economic frustration and fading identity. All right, let's take a breather for a second, because I want to hear from you. Do you think Ohio's decline was inevitable, or could better leadership and smarter investments have changed everything? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. I'll be reading and replying to as many as I can. And while you're at it, tell me what state you'd like me to cover next. Maybe Michigan, Pennsylvania, or even California's hidden struggles. These stories matter because they shape our future. If you're finding this deep dive eye-opening so far, give this video a quick like. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. Ohio's economic future is being held back by a growing skills gap. While manufacturing declined, the state didn't pivot fast enough toward new industries like tech and advanced services. Today, only about 30% of Ohioans hold a bachelor's degree or higher, below the national average of 38%. That gap matters. States with more educated workforces attract higher-paying employers. Meanwhile, many Ohio schools struggle with underfunding, especially in rural areas where tax bases have shrunk. Businesses in fast-growing sectors, healthcare technology, software, logistics, can't find enough qualified workers locally. Instead of retraining displaced workers or expanding access to higher education, Ohio lagged behind in innovation-driven growth. This mismatch creates a vicious cycle. Low education limits job opportunities, which discourages young people from staying, further draining the talent pool. Without investing in education and skill development, Ohio risks being stuck in a 20th century economy in a 21st century world. For decades, unions were the backbone of Ohio's middle class. They secured good wages, pensions, and benefits for factory workers, the very things that built the American dream. But union membership in Ohio has fallen dramatically, from around 26% of workers in 1989 to just 11% today. As union power faded, so did wage growth. Many jobs that replaced factory work, in warehouses, call centers, or service industries, pay far less and offer few protections. The decline in collective bargaining weakened workers' ability to negotiate fair pay, even as corporate profits climbed. This has deepened inequality. Between 1979 and 2020, Ohio's top earners saw incomes grow by over 60%, while the bottom half barely moved. Without strong unions, workers have less political and economic voice, and that loss has left entire communities without the leverage they once had to build sustainable local wealth. Economic decline doesn't happen in a vacuum. Policy plays a massive role. Ohio has often doubled down on outdated economic models, focusing on tax breaks for corporations instead of investing in people. Since 2005, repeated state tax cuts have cost Ohio an estimated $8 billion per year in lost revenue, according to Policy Matters Ohio. That's money that could have gone to education, infrastructure, or healthcare. Meanwhile, state leaders were slow to support green industries, tech innovation, and urban revitalization programs. Political gridlock and inconsistent leadership have made long-term planning nearly impossible. Rural and urban areas often feel like they're fighting for scraps of the same shrinking pie, leading to regional tension instead of collaboration. By prioritizing short-term corporate wins over sustainable development, Ohio has hamstrung its ability to adapt, making it harder for the state to compete in a modern, knowledge-driven economy. Perhaps no single factor has hurt Ohio's communities more than the opioid crisis. Over the past 2 decades, addiction has torn through the state's working-class towns. Between 2010 and 2020, Ohio recorded over 23,000 opioid-related deaths, one of the highest rates in the nation. The epidemic hit hardest in the very regions already suffering from job loss and poverty. Employers report difficulty finding workers who can pass drug tests or maintain stable attendance, further weakening the labor market. Meanwhile, local governments spend billions on healthcare, law enforcement, and rehabilitation, draining already limited resources. The Centers for Disease Control once listed 5 of the top 10 U.S. overdose counties as being in Ohio. Addiction doesn't just destroy lives. It undermines productivity, family stability, and social cohesion. Combined with economic decline, it's created a feedback loop of despair that continues to hold many Ohio communities back from recovery. Ohio's story is more than history. It's a warning. Once rich with opportunity, now fighting to rebuild from the ground up. The question isn't just what happened, but whether it could happen again. Anywhere. If this video made you think, drop a comment, hit like, and subscribe for more deep dives into the rise and fall of America's forgotten places.